Welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile people who have either overcome or they're in the process of overcoming a significant life event. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty. We, the Cooper Culture, are sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we have a very special guest, Katie Sullivan, who is recovering from, and she says recovering, you're never totally covered from being an alcoholic, but she profiles exactly what she went through in the family that led her into the disease of alcoholism, and then we will learn from her what it was that brought her through this. Listen closely to her mindset, what she was thinking. You'll learn that she came from a good family, albeit her dad was a functional drunk. Functional drunk meaning he could drink himself into oblivion, but apparently had such a high tolerance that he was able to function beyond that. She didn't like that, but she will tell you that she became, I'm going to use the word obsessed, focused on the fact that she did not want her dad to be that way. She, in the beginning, did not want to become an alcoholic, but she became one because she had the focus or the thought process of that. And there is an axiom that says you tend to become like that on which you focus. Marty, what are some takeaways that you have from this?
Well, you were speaking of the thought process. I took away her thought process that got her into alcoholism, and after her transformation, her recovery, how her thought process took her out of it.
And it's just a very intriguing story, but listen to her thought process. Is there anything that you can identify with, either for yourself or maybe a loved one within your circle of influence? Come join us. It's a fascinating session. Hi, Katie. Thank you for joining us on our podcast of Overcomers Overcoming. Katie, I think you have a great story that our listeners will be very interested in knowing.
Thanks for having me, Ron. I'm glad to be here.
Katie, can you give us just a brief background? And our focus is not the past, but I think it is good to know just a little bit of the past of maybe what type family you came from. And my understanding is you are a recovering alcoholic. And if you can identify just possibly some of the parts of your background that got you into alcoholism, I think that would be a good setting for our listeners.
Sure. So I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I'm one of 6 kids, Irish Catholic family. My father was a successful IBM executive and Georgetown grad, and my mother was a homemaker at that time, and we had a very happy, loving family. But my father was a recovering alcoholic. He passed away with 32 years of continuous sobriety, and very early on I was taught to not talk about that this is a problem. We don't talk to friends or family. We put the face on, we go through the motions. And throughout my early childhood, I had a great deal of resentment towards my father because of his drinking and because of having to keep secrets and not talk a lot and not trust. And I didn't want to ever be like him. And it turned out that I became exactly like him. And although I didn't start drinking at an early age, I started, in high school, then took off in college. And I got my first DUI when I was 22 years old. And my father was very helpful. He was a very strong companion and confidant at that time because he understood. He understood that alcohol was making me behave in a way that wasn't normal. It wasn't myself. So I went into rehab and had 18 years of continuous sobriety, and I got married and met a guy and had triplets and gave birth to triplets. And when my triplets were about 10 years old, I'd stopped going to AA, and I'd worked in the field and got involved in church and aerobics, and I drank again, and I relapsed, and I got 3 more DUIs, and I couldn't stop drinking, and I wanted to die. My marriage fell apart, and my kids suffered very dramatically, I would say. One thing I was really proud of, Ron, for a very long time was my children never saw me drunk, and that changed very quickly. I devastated them. I got 3 DUIs, like I said. I was in jail. I couldn't get a day sober. I would look at them and I would say, I'm going to stop drinking. I swear I meant it with all my heart, and I couldn't. And at the end of going back to AA and trying to get sober and getting some time and then drinking again and relapse and everything falling apart and losing everything and being a single mom and feeling a great deal of guilt and remorse and shame, I wanted to die. And I have a spiritual program. It's very strong. I have a belief in a power greater than myself, and I truly believe that power greater than myself put someone in my life, and I could finally hear that person. I started to relearn, if you will, because of my sometimes I do believe that sometimes my knowledge got in the way of my recovery, right? So my ego built, and I thought I knew what to do. But I relearned what my problem was. And my problem, to me, is my mind, okay, and my ego and my delusional thinking and my self-centered nature and my people-pleasing. My solution was always alcohol, because solution gave me an ability to turn everything off immediately, to relax, to turn off the pain of my marriage being broken, to turn off the guilt of harming my children, devastating them. And alcohol really immediately turned my head off and gave me a sense of ease and comfort and relief. And I was in a bondage, Ron, of myself and my thinking. My thinking was not that of a giving person as it is today. It was more of a self-centered, what's in it for me, transactional, very delusional with my thinking. And I could build everything up. I'm definitely I can rebuild my life. I can get the job. I can put the face on. But I didn't have an ability to admit that I had a horrible disease, that it has a horrible stigma attached to it, that I caused a great amount of pain, and that the problem was really me and my thinking, right? And I didn't have a solution or a way out. And today my solution really is to be of service to other people, to continue to watch for when my ego builds, to develop more of a spiritual practice and meditation and a conscious contact with something greater than myself. So that's sort of the backstory of how I've gone from a complete, utter nightmare, completely hopeless, broken, lost, to a woman who is at peace and an ability to be a service to other people, and that, and including my children, and that's an incredible gift that my recovery has given me.
Katie, I admire everything that you have just described. You've made what it seems to be an amazing transformation, and it would seem, starting from the inside out. Let me take you back just a little bit to your family relation, and again, our focus is not the past, but I'm wondering, tell me if I'm assimilating correctly. You had a loving relationship with your dad, albeit you hated the fact that he was a drinker. I'm curious, was he a closet drinker, or how would you describe that?
So I would describe my father as a functional alcoholic. He never missed a day of work. He showed up. We were at church every Sunday. He would come home from work. He'd sit in his chair and he'd start drinking and typically pass out, and my parents would argue. And then he went off to AA and wasn't talked about, Ron. I wasn't aware. I wasn't as educated as I've educated my children today on this disease and the condition, the problems that it causes. Like, he would go out to AA meetings at 6 o'clock at night. I really had no understanding. I would just watch my mother go, where's he going? Like, why is he leaving again? You know, he was drinking, and now he's off at these AA meetings. And he was getting his medicine. So it was, like, very similar to that of cancer, right? So when someone has cancer and they go to the chemo, nobody says, oh, why are they going to chemo every day? Like, but when the stigma that's attached to alcoholism is, we think that, you know, it's a choice. And trust me, Ron, when I say this, my father and myself, I would not choose to harm the people that I harmed. Not so much even me, but in my DUIs and the accidents, my children, my family, my friends, all my relationships. I would not choose that. My father wouldn't choose that. It was not a choice. If I could have stopped drinking and put it down on my own devices with my self-will, I would have. I didn't have an ability. I have to, you know, I truly believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, like it says in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. No human aid can ever relieve my alcoholism. So.
Yeah, let me ask you, Katie, in the context of, I'm going to use the term an overpowering force, it sounds as if you're describing a very powerful negative force that was in you that brought you to the point of drinking. That powerful force, tell me if this is what defines you. Maybe you had feelings of insecurity. You weren't sure exactly where you fit in society. Maybe you felt socially awkward. Were you experiencing any of those type attributes?
So my head told me all those things, right? So what I believe is my thinking was corrupt. My mind was being accosted by my ego. And how I describe it and how it was described to me was, I get a thought in my head, it attaches to a story, and I start telling a story and believe in the story in my head, and it's not what's going on because I'm not in the present moment. And I have an ability to get in the present moment and say everything's okay. That's not true. That's not happening. That person's not saying that. That's not going on. And I pause and I take a breath. And I can get recentered and be in the present moment. And that's a beautiful gift that my recovery has given me, that ability to pause and be present and say everything's okay. I'm doing the best I can with where I'm at. No, I'm not perfect. I'm not, like, I fall short on lots of days as a mom, as a friend, as a fiance, but my head will tell me otherwise, right? So my head will attach to a story that people don't understand me, and I should get this, and I should be getting that, and my kids, they should understand. Like, it's just a story that goes on, and that's my ego. And I think that's where my problem centers in my mind, right?
Katie, that's yeah, it does. Now, what you just said could be very telling for a lot of us who are listening to you right now. That what I think you said was you had a lot of negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts over a period of time, and it sounds like this is part of your transformation. The negative thoughts, you end up believing that, and you thought that maybe turning to alcohol would help you through that or something of that nature. But through your transformation, you're able now to generate positive thoughts. Is that largely foundational to your recovery and how you help others?
I would say yes. Yes, it is. I'm very awake. I'm very aware to my thinking and my thoughts. I'm very present. I'm present when I'm with my kids. I'm present when I'm at work. I'm in the moment. I'm taking breaths. And I truly believe, like, you know, all the mystics, Buddha, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak, they all try to teach this. It's a secret to life for anybody, whether you're in recovery or you're not. That's just my opinion.
I'm very curious, Katie, in your transformation of being able to transition from negative to positive thoughts. If we, listening to your story, were in the presence of maybe someone in our circle of influence also has some very negative thoughts, they're not necessarily yet indulging in alcohol, can you help us? What is the remedy, if there is one, or what is the process helping a person turn negative thoughts to positive thoughts?
So I would say for me, Ron, I can only speak for myself, for me is to be aware of it, to be aware of when the story starts and when the ego attaches to my thinking, to be aware of it, to take that breath, to be able to be in the moment and get right-sized and recentered. You know, I'm no better than, I'm no less than. I'm working at my own level of consciousness, and I'm okay, and to get back in the moment. And I have to do it routinely throughout the day, right? So my thinking can go negative, it can go grandiose, it could go all different directions, and it's a constant deflation of ego. And saying, you know, God, in my opinion, this is just the way I view it, my higher power is God, I choose to call it God, how can you use me as a conduit to be of service to other people? And that is the recurring tape that goes through my head all day long.
Katie, was there a moment in your life where this point of awareness happened to you, or would you say it was over perhaps a longer period of time to where you became self-aware, and fundamental to that self-awareness apparently was your negative thoughts? I'm just curious how long that self-awareness occurred, and just how we on the outside may be able to help others.
So I was paralyzed for years, Ron, with self-centered thinking, delusions, ideas of grandeur. I was like paralyzed. I was so sick. I was so broken. And I do believe, and I know the exact day, and I know the exact time, and I know the exact person I was with, that I was awakened, and I had an experience, as I would call it. And that was when I went through step 2 in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which says, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And I talked about my conception of God and the power greater than myself. And I thought of my mother, my loving, kind, giving, compassionate, gentle, forgiving mother. And she had a conscious contact with God all the time. And I was awake, and I could feel it. And I think it was, the clarity for me was that I was able to be in the moment at that time and be present and open to a new experience. So I had to set aside everything I felt, I think I know about everything and everyone, and be open. I have to be. So when I come to someone to try to help them, I'm sharing my experience, but I'm also having a great amount of empathy and compassion to where they're coming from, right? Because I can understand. And I can see them, and I can hear them in a different way than maybe somebody can't, that hasn't had my same experience, if that makes sense.
It does. Katie, the person who helped you with your self-awareness, in hindsight, was that a mentor? It sounds as if that was probably a person with whom you had developed a very trusting relationship. Can you describe what the relationship was you had with that person?
So that was a dear, dear friend of mine, who, it's funny, our story was I helped him get on his feet, and he got sober, and I kept relapsing, and I was amazed because I saw a change in him, and a significant change. I saw peace in his face, and I was so desperate. I showed up at his house, and I was hopeless, and I didn't think I was ever going to get better, and I really wanted to die. And we prayed, and I was open to a new experience, and I heard him. And it was a God moment for me. It was, the right time at the right place with the right person. And I believe there's no coincidences. It's God working in my life. I think everything happens for a reason, even all my pain, everything I've been through. I think I'm grateful today for all of that, because I would not be the person I am. And I'm not perfect, Ron, so I don't got this thing called recovery. I have a daily reprieve. I don't have all the answers. I'm flawed. My ego still drives me a lot of days, but I have a solution other than alcohol, and that is to be awake and be present and to breathe and to pause and to recognize and to be of service to other people. Because when I'm helping someone else, want to know what I'm not doing, Ron? I'm not thinking about myself, which is my problem.
Well, Katie, I'm intrigued. I think our listeners are intrigued at your thought process that I'm going to describe you as being a functional drunk who at the moment was helping perhaps another functional drunk. You saw his improvement and you saw the benefits of what's happening to him, which then led you to a point of recovery. Have I heard you correctly?
Yes. And even today, he continues to be a dear, dear friend and a source of comfort for me.
But also, I think at the time that you knocked on his door, you were ready to be rid of all of this. Am I right?
Yes, I was completely, I had no hope. So I knocked at his door, and I literally showed up with, no expectation that I was ever going to get well. I just didn't think I was capable. I thought, like it says in the big book, I was constitutionally incapable. I really did not think I could get it back after having all that time sober. And I was in a great amount of pain. So it was a beautiful experience for me.
But you knew you could go to him. That was the relationship was such that you could go to him.
Yes, I trusted him immensely. I believed in him. I saw his change. He gave me an incredible amount of hope. And it wasn't what he said, it's what I saw. I saw him. I would see his face changed. He had peace. His eyes lit up. He wasn't that way and I wanted what he had. It was attractive to me, that peace. So yeah, it was the right moment and the right time and the right person for sure.
I'm very interested in the aspect of trust, Katie. Were you at a point in your life where you possibly felt that you couldn't trust anybody, but this gentleman just helped you determine that, yes, there's at least one person in this world who is trustworthy?
I saw more hope. I think I was a person that I kept trying to not give up, and I kept trying to trust, and my trust was broken a lot. I didn't trust myself. I truly didn't trust myself to not stop drinking. I could talk the talk. I had enough time. I was around enough that I could make everybody seem to think I was okay. But I really didn't trust myself to stop drinking. And yeah, the trust with him, and I do. I believe it was a power greater than myself that drove the whole journey and the whole relationship and experience. And today he is still one of my nearest and dearest friends and closest friends. He also, we're chairing a gratitude meeting for Recovery Centers of America on Thanksgiving morning at 9 o'clock. What are you grateful for? So we're still in it.
No, that's an amazing story, Katie. Now, from the time that I'm going to say you discovered healthy self-awareness until you felt you were recovered, if that's an appropriate term, how long did that process take, approximately?
It was quick. So I'm a big believer in the big book. I've referred to it of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we got through the steps and started the amends in a month and a half time. And I was relieved. I was free. I walked out of his door that day and I had peace. I was singing hymns that my mother loved from church. And I wanted to keep that. And that's why I say to you, like, I have a daily reprieve, and that's based on the maintenance of my program. And I live in steps 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. I watch for my character defects. I seek through prayer and meditation my conscious contact with God. And I try to be of service to other people. I fall short on a lot of days. Please hear me when I say I'm not a perfect person. I'm flawed. I'm very awake to it. I can turn it around. I can own my wrongs today. I can right them very quickly, and I can get my peace back very quickly because I've been taught a solution, okay, through the 12 steps.
Yes. Yep. Katie, Marty and I are faith-based as well, and we do believe in the power of Scripture, God the Father in our life, and the power that He has in us, and He who is in us is greater than the forces outside the world. That is a part of our belief, and we do want to share our faith with others. I'm curious, Katie, would you say you are a totally recovered alcoholic to the point where you could drink socially, or how are you now?
Absolutely not. Alcohol's poison to me. It's I put it in, I ingest it, and terrible things happen. I truly believe that I'm recovered from the mental anguish I had in my head because I have a solution. I have a daily reprieve. If I stop my practices, and I have several of them right throughout the day. I meditate in the morning. I review my day at night. I try to be of service throughout the day to people. I pause. I admit when I'm wrong. If I stop those practices, I will drink again, and I don't know if I will survive that. I barely survived the last round.
All right.
I want to ask now, do you feel comfortable being around people that drink, or is that something that you say, no, I can't even be around them?
So I truly believe that when I am have a reliance upon God and I'm turning into God for my solution and my peace, I can be anywhere with anyone in any environment. It does not bother me. That does not trigger me. When I'm on a spiritual plane and I'm working a program, I'm having Thanksgiving with my family next week. My kids are 22. They will drink. My fiance is in recovery. We don't typically have alcohol in the house, but it's just because we don't drink. But it does not, like my family will bring alcohol over. I can go buy alcohol for my, if I have an event, does not. I don't half the time I don't even know it's there because I'm present and I'm being present for other people around, and alcohol takes all that away. It robs me of all that, robs me of everything, takes everything from me, everything. It's a thief.
Katie, I'm very curious. Based on your personal experience, based on your association with Recovery Centers of America, is it possible we can get an early indication of traits that you believe could be defined as giving a person the propensity to be an alcoholic? I want to quickly qualify what I'm asking you. I'm not asking, or I'm not suggesting that we label anyone, but I'm just very curious if you can identify some traits that lead you to think that, yeah, if you continue in this path, you could become an alcoholic. And I'm asking all of this in the context of how would you suggest that we on the outside effectively intervene or establish a relationship with that kind of person such that we can help them make the right decision and never become engaged in alcohol to become a functional drunk?
So that's a tricky question. I don't believe I have a capacity to identify anyone as an alcoholic. I don't tell anybody they're an alcoholic. I can share my experience with someone. I can identify specifics like, do you think if you weren't drinking that wouldn't happen? Do you think if the drinking wasn't in the equation? Like I lead them down the road to their own self-awareness. It's a tricky question because, I have 3 kids and I have 5 brothers and sisters. I'm the only one in recovery. We were all raised the same way. We have a lot of similar personalities, me and my brothers and sisters, but my drinking took me to a very dark place with a lot of negative consequences, and it's not the same for them. I was a binge drinker, Ron. Like I could drink all weekend and put it down and not drink for a week or 2. And then as soon as I drink, I can't stop. And that's the insanity, and that is the obsession and the physical craving that happens with me. So I don't think I'm in a, personally, even though I've 20 years of a career in this field, not just at RCA, but in other treatment centers, I can sit here today and say, like, I don't have a capacity to say directly to someone, you're an alcoholic. I have a capacity to get them to a place where they can say it, and that's more powerful and more effective, in my opinion.
I'm agreeing with notionally with what you're saying, Katie. I have personally spoken with some people about an alcoholic, asked some of these questions, and some people will say, I'm not an alcoholic as long as I think you have at least one more drink than I do. So, compared to you, if I don't drink as much as I do, then I'm not an alcoholic. And when I say you, I don't mean you, Katie. I'm the person with whom I'm speaking.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I've heard that. Like, I don't drink as much as Katie. I never got a DUI. I wasn't in jail. I ask a simple question: is the alcohol causing problems in your life? And your problems might be different than my problems. Your problem, like, my dad could get to work, but he wasn't a father when he was drinking. He was absent. He was present. His body was there, but he was not. He was physically there. He wasn't mentally there, if you understand. So
I do understand what you're saying, Katie. Maybe a final question. For those who are either self-declared or are observed as being a functional drunk, I'm guessing, Katie, they don't view themselves as being a functional drunk, but if we on the outside can see what may lead us to think they are a functional drunk, can we approach Recovery Centers of America and get help? I mean, and I think I understand you're saying the functional drunk or the alcoholic has to reach a point where they acknowledge themselves they need help, but can we help to that state of awareness from being on the outside?
Absolutely, you can help. I always say to people, like, it's not my position to assess you and to make that determination, but we offer free assessments. You can call 1-800-RECOVERY. They will be a person on the other line immediately. You'll get a live person. They can do a free confidential assessment, and they can make a recommendation. So you can get assessed. They can say you don't meet criteria. Meaning like you don't meet a medical criteria for a medical detox, or maybe you need outpatient or education. But I would refer them to somebody that can ask specific questions based on an assessment and a criteria to determine a condition, a medical condition that's being treated. a condition that nobody wants to talk about, that, the heroin epidemic right now is killing a generation. Nobody's talking about it. We've lost more kids and a generation over heroin and more than COVID, and there's no talk about it. And it's not something families talk about. They're disgraced. They think they're moral defective. They think it's a choice. And there's a lot of ignorance around it. So I always encourage people, come to our family support group. We do virtual Seeds to Recovery. It's education, support. It's free. It's virtual. It's once a month. We're having it this Saturday. Get some education. If you had a rash, you'd go to a doctor and get it looked at, or you'd talk to somebody who had the same rash. What did you do? Knowledge is power. And we have a lot of resources at Recovery Centers of America for families, friends, the ones that have the problem, the ones that are addicted, and it's confidential. And we meet people where they're at. We have empathetic, compassionate, dedicated people on the front lines, and we need an army, because we're not fighting the person, we're fighting the disease, and the disease right now, in my opinion, is winning.
Katie, I would agree. I think Marty and I would largely agree with you that in some cases it just seems the disease is winning. I just sense that the more educated we are, that's one aspect of it. But then I personally believe we just have to have the confidence in ourselves, the self-awareness that we need to get involved in people's lives. But when I say get involved, I'm not saying in a very negative way. I mean, in your face, you must stop, not do, or something like that. But to develop a very effective, genuine relationship to where you can effectively reason with a person. I sense that's the relationship that you had with the gentleman that you mentioned earlier in this conversation.
It is, and I also, a very cool thing that has happened for me is my authenticity and my genuineness to admit my wrongs and people to see me as just another human being that is, just trying to get through, has enabled my children to be able to freely talk about it. And my children have been able to say to friends of theirs, like, yeah, my mom's in recovery. They're proud of me. And other people, like friends of theirs, my daughter has a girlfriend whose father struggles, and she's like, nobody talks about this. You're the only one I can talk to about my dad's drinking. That opens up a world of comfort and help that's unavailable, because I think a lot of times people are going through the motions and judging and acting like everything's okay, when we're all just trying to be okay, and we're all doing the best we can at where we're at, and we all got to come together at some point and say, let's be positive, let's be a part of the solution, not the problem. And my recovery has given me that beautiful gift as well.
One of the purposes of this podcast is to let others know you're not alone. We're in this together. For those of us on the outside who may be observing somebody on the inside, I use those inside-outside terms, and we're at a loss to know just what to do. You have helped us a lot in the sessions that Recovery is going to help educate us so that we can know more effectively how to interact with other people.
Thank you.
Katie, thank you so much for sharing from the heart, and many people are going to benefit from your experience.
I really appreciate it being here.
Were you almost able to live Katie's experience of getting into alcoholism, the mindset or the thought process she had? But what got her out of that largely was a friendship that she developed through a mentoring relationship. And it was this person that helped her through a very difficult situation. An irony is that she was not totally recovered from being an alcoholic but she helped a gentleman out of his alcoholism. She saw his transformation, and she then wanted what he had. There was a relationship there that had developed through a mentoring relationship, and she, through that, was able to overcome her alcoholism. Marty, what are some takes that you had?
Well, that was one of my takes, that she developed this friendship, a trusting friendship, and one that she could go and talk to him. And as you have listened through her story, you will hear just how important that person was to her. So if you're listening and you're wondering, how could I, meaning you, be a mentor, contact the RCA and they can work you through the process of becoming a mentor.
And as you become involved with the Recovery Centers of America, know that they have courses available, and they encourage those of us outsiders to participate in those courses to learn about the disease of alcoholism. Also, Marty and I have put together a digital course on relationships. It is a 19-session course totaling about 9.5 hours of the aspects of developing a very genuine relationship. One of the takeaways from this is that the relationship that Katie developed with others and a mentor, but the value of being able to turn to someone whom you trust. And trust doesn't occur in just a matter of moments. Rather, it frequently occurs, frequently requires an amount of time to develop that trust. And many of us just feel that we don't have the time to develop relationships of that nature. But Katie and many others will tell you it is through relationships that they are able to overcome many of the situations that in which they encounter. And it's those relationships that help them over that. So, Marty and I want to give you the strongest encouragement we can. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture or marty@thecooperculture, and we will introduce you to the digital relationship course that we have. We have found that many people have benefited from that, and we're able to develop strong relationships. In the meantime, we look forward to continuing the dialogue with you. Also, if there are people in your life that you have learned from and help them over alcoholism, let us know. The more we share with each other positive and negative experiences, the more we can learn from each other, and the more help we can be to those that are maybe not making good decisions, but if they're already involved in alcoholism, let's do what we can to help them over that disease. Thank you, and we look forward to continuing our dialogue.